Welcome to Data with Srinivas. This is video 1 of our Master's SQL Window Functions 0 to Hero series. Before we write any window function code, let us first understand why this topic matters. In real analytical work, we often face very common problem. We need to see the individual detail row, but we also need the bigger business context around that row. For example, the healthcare claim data set. One row may represent one claim. That row may show the claim ID, member ID, provider ID, service date, claim status, and paid amount. That detail is important. We don't want to lose it. But at the same time, a business user may ask questions such as what is the total paid amount across all claims? What is the average paid amount? How much did this member cost compared with other members? Which provider has the highest paid amount? How is spending accumulating over time? A regular group by can answer some of summary questions. Group by is very useful, but it changes the row level. It collapses many claim rows into fewer summary rows. That means we got the summary, but we lose the original claim level detail in the same result set. This is exactly where SQL window functions become powerful. Window functions allow us to calculate totals, averages, counts, rankings, running totals, moving averages, previous row comparisons, and other analytical values while keeping every original row visible. So the main business problem we are solving today is how can we calculate totals and averages without losing claim level detail? We'll answer that question using SQL Server 2022 and our healthcare window functions DB, which contains 5000 synthetic healthcare claims. In the first lesson, we'll keep the idea simple and clear. First, we'll look at the original claim level rows. Second, we'll use regular aggregate query and see it summarizes the data. Third, we'll use group by and observe how the row level changes. Finally, we'll introduce the over clause and see how window function can add analytical context without collapsing the result set. By the end of this lesson, I want you to remember one simple sentence. Window functions, let us keep the row and add the insight. Let's begin in the SQL Server Management Studio. We are now in SQL Server Management Studio. Our business question is simple. How can we calculate totals and averages without losing claim level detail? To answer that question, we'll compare 4 views of the same claims data. First, we'll look at the original detail rows. Second, we'll use regular aggregate functions. Third, we'll use group by and see how it changes the row level. Fourth, we will introduce our first window function using over clause. Let us begin with new raw claim level data. The first query shows the original detail level of the claims table. Each row represents one healthcare claim. Claim ID identifies the claim with the member ID, provider ID, service date, claim status, and paid amount. Describe that individual transaction. Let us run the query. In the result pane, notice that every displayed row is still one separate claim. This is the detail we want to preserve. However, this result does not yet show the overall total paid amount or overall average paid amount. Now let us calculate those summary values using regular aggregate functions. This query uses regular aggregate functions. Count returns the number of claims. Sum returns the total paid amount. Average returns the average paid amount. Before we run the query, notice that there is no group by clause here. That means SQL will summarize all qualifying claims into one result row. Let us run it. The result gives us the total and average, but individual claims are gone. We now have the summary, but we no longer have the original claim level detail in the same result. That is the limitation we are trying to solve. Now let us add group by. In this example, we group the claims by provider ID. Before grouping, one row represented one claim. After group by provider ID, one row represents one provider ID. Let us run the query. The result now shows a summary row for each provider. This is useful when the business question asks for provider level totals or averages. But notice what changed. We can no longer see each individual claim ID in the result. Group by has changed the level of detail from one row per claim to one row per provider. So group by gives us the summary, but it collapses the detailed rows. Now we are ready for the key idea of the video 1. We want the overall total paid amount, but we also want to keep every individual claim row. This query uses sum of paid amount followed by an empty over clause. Sum performs the calculation. The over clause returns the aggregate calculation into a window calculation. Because the over clause is empty, SQL uses the entire result set as one calculation window. Let us run the query. Now notice the difference. Every original claim remains visible. Claim ID, member ID, provider ID, service date, claim status, and paid amount are still present. At the same time, the overall total paid amount appears beside every claim row. The total repeats because the same overall total applies to every row. Most importantly, though the rows have not been collapsed. This is the central idea behind SQL Window Functions. They calculate across rows while preserving the original detail. We can use the same pattern for average paid amount. Average of paid amount performs the average calculation. The empty over clause again uses the entire result set as a window. Let us run the query. Each claim remains visible while the overall average paid amount appears beside each and every claim. We now have the detail row and analytical context in the same result. This directly answers our business question of the day. We can calculate totals and averages without losing claim level detail by using aggregate functions with the over clause. Let us compare the two approaches one final time. Group by changes the row level and returns summary rows. Window function keeps the original row level and adds the summary values beside each detail row. Neither approach is wrong. The correct choice depends on the business question. Use group by when you need only the summary rows. Use window function when you need the detail row and analytical value together. Let us summarize the SQL demonstration. The original query showed one row per claim. Regular aggregate functions returned one overall summary row. Group by returned one summary row per provider, change the row level. Window function used the over clause to calculate the totals and averages while keeping every claim row visible. This is the foundation for everything we will learn in this series. Let us return to the closing slide and review the final takeaways. Let us review the key takeaways from video 1. The first major point is that group by changes the row level. When we group by provider, member, claim status or any other category, SQL combines multiple detail rows into summary rows. That is useful when we only need the summary. But it's not enough and we still need each original claim row. The second major point is that window functions keep every detail row visible. That means we can display the individual claim and also display the analytical values. Beside that claim, such as total, averages, counts, ranking, and comparisons. The third major point is that over clause defines the calculation window. In today's first example, sum of the paid amount with an empty over clause calculated the total paid amount across all qualifying rows and repeat that value beside every claim. This is the central idea of the entire series. Window functions calculate across related rows without collapsing the result set. So if you group by gives us summary rows, window function gives us detail rows plus analytic context. This is why window functions are so important for real reporting and analytics works. They also allow us to answer business questions without losing the transaction level details that analysts, managers, and auditors want to see often. In the next video, we'll look inside the over clause and understand how partition by, order by, and window frames control the calculation. Thank you for watching Data with Srinivas. Keep practicing, keep querying, and I will see you in video 2.